3. Killers. He gained his recognition not because he was a bad, but rather because he was a man of swift and decisive action. Captain John R. Hughes. Number 1. Wild Bill Hickock. The line of country heroes is an unbroken one. As a boy in LaSalle County, Illinois, James Butler Hickock, born the year after Crockett died, like him, killed wolves for a bounty, not as Kit Carson, who later praised him for his fearlessness. And when he was 20, according to tradition, Wild Bill came into the aid of an 11-year-old boy named Will Cody, who was being rough-handled by his companions in Lou Simpson's wagon train. Wild Bill's prowess in knockdown and drag-out fighting, and in marksmanship recall the feats of Mike Fink. On his first job as a towpath driver on the Illinois and Michigan Canal, he emerged as a victor of a fistfight that lasted for over an hour, beginning on the towpath and ending in the water, with his adversary nearly drowned. "I always shoot well," he told George Ward Nichols, "but I've come to be perfect in the mountains by shooting at a dime for a mark, and bets of $50 a shot." As a killer, Wild Bill has been the subject of much controversy. He was a gunfighter who fought fair, or a gunman who didn't. As a legend, he eclipses Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp, and other marshals who were also bad men. The killer arose out of the turbulent conditions on the frontier, where the six-shooter was the law of the land, and a man shot to kill in self-preservation demanded that he kill or be killed. Since a split second in which one got the drop on one's adversary might mean the difference between those two alternatives, the mastery went to the man who combined agility of movement and steadiness of nerve, such as were required for drawing quickly and shooting straight, with coolness of head. "Whenever you get into a row," said Wild Bill, "be sure to not shoot too quick. Take time. I've done many a feller slip up from shooting in a hurry." The law of the six-shooter was based on the utter disregard for human life, which elevated murder to a cold-blooded science. "As to killing men," said Wild Bill, "I never thought much of it. The most of the men I killed, it was one or t'other of us, and at such times you don't stop to think, and what's the use after it's all over?" As to how he got into fights, if I tell you, but you know a man must defend his honor. Again, that I have killed men, I admit, but never unless in absolute self-defense or in a performance of the official duty. I never in my life took any mean advantage of an enemy. Yet, understand," he added, "I never allow a man to get the drop on me." Thus, then confronted by a desperado with a gun in each hand, Bill stepped back with upraised hand. "Don't shoot him, he's only been fun," he called out. Mulvey turned, expecting to confront a deputy approaching from behind. In the instant his attention was distracted, Bill snatched out a revolver and dropped him with a bullet in the brain. Although no seasoned trooper like Buffalo Bill, with whom he appeared briefly in Ned Buntline's melodrama, The Scouts of the Prairie, in 1873, Wild Bill displayed considerable showmanship in living up with the early acquired reputation as a bad man to fool with. George Ward Nichols' account of his fabulous exploits was probably no more extravagant than Wild Bill's conception of himself. For throughout his varied career as stagecoach driver, Civil War sharpshooter and spy, Indian fighter and scout guide and peace officer, Wild Bill helped create his own legend, combining a certain amount of pause with the sense of his own mission. Thus, two heroes during both their lifetime make it easier for the folklorists and harder for the historian. Wild Bill's reputation as a wild man to fool with rested on his reputation as a gunfighter, and in his turn on his use of all the tricks of gunplay which old-timers attribute to the pseudo-bad man and the fancy shooter, such as carrying two guns, shooting from the hip, and fanning, firing a revolver by brushing back the hammer with the palm of the left hand. Whether this show of daredevilry and flashiness were due to the courage or the lack of it, Wild Bill made the most of it, while at the same time taking no chances. The result was such myths as the McClana's massacre, and such stunts as simultaneously killing two assailants who had entered by the opposite doors of a restaurant. He could do this not because he had eyes in the back of his head or some sixth sense, but because he drew his pistols, both of them, with a movement almost quicker than the eye could perceive, and with one he killed one man in front of him, and at the same time, with the other gun resting in the opposite shoulder, he killed the man behind him, looking through a mirror over the front door. His good looks and gallantry, plus his taste for fancy clothes, also gained him a reputation of a lady killer. Mrs. Cody was entranced by the actuality, as she had been terrified at the prospect of meeting him. I could have danced the Highland fling, I believe, so happy was I to find madness where I had been led to believe it would be the most murderous of persons. Instinctively I looked for revolvers. There were none, not even the slightest bulge of the hips of the Prince Albert we wore. I was happier than ever. We danced, and I must confess that we danced and danced again until we laughingly put a stop to it. There was no end of miracles. Many of his hair-raising exploits during the war involved his well-trained horse, Black Nell, reminiscent of the marvelous steeds of earlier heroes, whose trip of dropping quick and saving his life again and again, with warriors and tribal chieftains of other heroic ages, this Prince of Pistolers was linked not only by his saga of daring challenges, thrilling combats, and miraculous escapes, but also by his tragic doom. In fact, the fairies presided at his death as well as at his birth. Even his remains, as evidence at the time of their exhumation for reburial, underwent the miracle of natural embalming.